How's it going, everybody? So, I wanted to get on here and give you guys a couple of minutes of my time with a little tip that I have for Husbandry Pro. Um, this app is really cool. One of my favorite things about it is that it is kind of like using a little bit of a more intricate reptile version of Excel. Now, you could just use Excel, but the features in here, in my opinion, are worth the small amount of money yearly that you would use this for. So, what is the tip? The tip has to do with your subscription. So right now, I'm currently using the breeder subscription. It's $149 a year. To me, that's more than worth it to never lose track of any of my details. They're saved, and every single one of my reptiles has its own profile. In that profile are so many different ways to notate, and one of my favorites is how I notate the parents. Now, with this subscription, you'll notice that I can only have up to 500 animals. It says so right here where I've highlighted. Now, the tip is that you can only have up to 500 active animals. So, if you have sold animals, those do not count. And that's where my tip comes in. So, parents. Let's talk parents. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I do highly recommend this 500 animal subscription if you have less than 500 animals. Going over here to my animals, I'm going to focus on one that I have all the parental details to, but just to be extra thorough, I reached out to the breeder, Thomas, over at Tucson's Finest Geckos. Tucson's Finest Leos, and he assisted me with a reminder of the animal in question. I just wanted to make sure that I had everything in order here. So you can see here, if you can, this is Malenko. I named her this because she's a clown, and the name just reminded me of clowns. So, Clown Inferno, and I wanted to have some more details of her parents. So if I click on her, it's going to open up her specific profile. I have all these notes here. These are just things that Thomas has texted me over a little bit of time, but we'll go into details here. This is my unique identifier that I've given her. It fits in with what I'm doing. You can see there that it's going to be 09CL, and I'm going to try to zoom in on that for you guys. So 09CL there. Got her name. I name the animals. No harm, no foul. Some people do, some people don't. I don't have so many animals that, certain details bother me. I put in here kind of what I thought she was, and then I threw some extra stuff in here to show you how when the profile might be wrong, you can fix it. So going down here, though, I put what I thought maybe her parents were, and then I have some updates. For instance, the mom, or the dad, has been tested out 5 years, so I can actually take these two off. In my opinion, that's enough. He's male. We've put him to a lot of females. Thomas put him to plenty of females. He's never once thrown a het of any kind, which is fantastic. It makes him a fantastic male. So down here, I have the parents listed as Royal, who I have in my collection, and the mom has this number here. Now, why do I have her listed as that number there? Well, it's because she's not my animal. But from talking to Thomas and figuring out what's going on with the mother, this is where I want to show you how I keep notes. So you can see here that in my old way, when I hit the edit button here, what I did before was notate the living daylights down here at the bottom, all of that, right? So how do I prevent something like that? How do I get around it? Well, you can see here that in her notation, it shows a unique identifier there for the dad. If I notice the identifier is one that I work with, then I know that that's my animal. But the mom's identifier, well, I don't have one for her because she's not my pet or my animal. So what I will do in this instance is I will take this number that's over here, and that's Thomas's identifier. Okay. and I'm going to go back to the main page, and I'm going to create a profile for the mother. Now, how do I create the profile and keep her out of my 500 animals so that I don't use up all of my purchased space? It's very simple. So if I were to put my little notation there, that's going to be the Instagram link to the photo that Thomas sent me. Now I'm going to ring up really quick that number that Thomas just gave us. And when I ever look at the mom, I will know that this is not an identifier that I use. It's going to ask me what the name is. She doesn't have a name. Thomas never got around to naming her, so I'm going to call her Thomas via David. That's based off of his notes. I'm going to clock her in as female. She is going to be Clown by Inferno, and she did come with percentages. So Clown, Inferno, and I'm going to come over here and look at this picture that Thomas sent me of the mom. Now, this is the mom. It's been listed on Thomas's account since 2021. I don't know what year she was born. I don't know her date, her hatch date or hatch month or any of those things. But as long as she's an adult, it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to just assume that 2020 might have been her first year. Do I know that for sure? No, I don't. But it also is really not that relevant. So I'll put 2020 there. You could see, and then maturity, you don't have to do that, but you can. You don't have to select that she eats mealworms. She's not really your animal. I don't have her weight. I don't know her parents, right? But some pairing history I don't know. I have a thing here for hatchling notes, and I have a thing here for regular notes. For hatchling notes, I would put that she was hatched from Bubba's Living Emporium, according to Thomas. And so that being said, now we're going to go ahead and take some of those notes that were in Malenko, and we're going to move them over to her. So what do we know here? We know that he says that she was specific amount right here. Mom is 87.5% Clown and 12.5% Inferno, according to David over at Bubba's Geckos. And I'm going to put that right there. Okay. So now I've technically, hobbyist, I don't have to fill out. I have given her a little name. It doesn't matter what her name is. You actually don't even have to do that. So it says Thomas via David. I can go ahead and delete that. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to put here that I acquired her so that I don't confuse myself in the future. I don't know her parents, so I'm not going to write that down. The date that I acquired her, that doesn't really matter. We're going to go ahead and just clear that out. The supplier, I like to know, where she came from. Sorry, I got her from Thomas. So he's saved in my contacts. There's no purchase price because I am not telling the truth here. This is me saving notations under a profile for the mom in case I ever need any of the information. So the trick is to go in and select her as sold. You don't have to put an amount. You don't have to care about the date. You can clear what date you sold her. Sold to, and I'm going to put Thomas. Okay. And actually a really good idea would be to put in the notation here, this is the mom of Malenko. Okay. I could manage photos. I'm sure that if I wanted to, I could take a screenshot of her and maybe throw it in here like that. I can take this down. It's not a big deal. I don't really need the photograph, but it's kind of nice to see. And you let this upload. That's good. Close. I don't need to tag it. No weights. No parent. She's not a part of any projects. She's not my animal. I don't know much about her. I do know these percentages down here, which hopefully you can see. And those are important to me. So once this is all said and done, everything's in here. The no name, Everything's there. I do have her marked as sold. She is now saved as a profile with information in it in my animal list. And if I go to my own, where up here it says active only, and I have tried to zoom this in for you guys. I'm waiting for it to load. Husbandry is doing its thing tonight. If I were to go to the sold folder here, now it helps if you have a name, but if you also just happen to have the identifier, which I won't have it memorized, but if you remember, I copied it, so we're going to hit paste, and I didn't copy it, so I think it started with 601. If I'm correct, it'll likely pop up here in a second. There she is right there. Okay, so 601 and a bunch of sevens. No name. You can see here that she's in my folder, but she's in my sold section, so she's not a part of what I'm paying for. Now, if you were to look at my active information here, you're going to see that I can click Malenko, and there's that mom's name there. But another thing I can do in case I ever need to reference any details about just her is come down here to where it says Dame ID, click it, start typing, and attach. Now I have Royal, who is her dad. And that's his unique ID that I gave him because he's been in my collection for a while. And then I've now added the mom. And if I ever need anything, I can do something about it. So what I'm going to do is I'll have a very easy channeling access towards filtering right over to her and reading all about her. So I'm going to save Malenko really fast because I've now attached the mom's profile. I'm not paying for it. She is in my sold folder. But you can save brand new profiles for the parents of any animals if they're your best and brightest, or if it's just something you definitely want to, track every bit of information you can, which is something I do quite a bit of. This is a good way to get around paying for it. So Malenko, now we've got her back up here, 09CL, Clown Inferno, all of her information. I'm going to open this back up and make a couple of quick changes. For instance, we need to put better information on her, like her genetics here. That's got to go. It's not a part of who she is. And I'm going to be taking out these items here because both of her parents have proven over the years really well to not have any of these things. Now, where it says notes, you can change it in here, but I feel like that's a little bit more of a difficult access towards reading it all. So what I like to do is just save. So obviously if there's a glitch on the computer, you're good. Wait for search to come open. Type it in again. Wait for her to list. Click on her. Let the profile start to load. And right here you can go to notes. And there they are nice and big. So I'll take this down to notes that are only about Malenko. This is her profile. I don't need to have paragraphs about her parents. That's what I used to do. I don't do that anymore. If I have information about the sire, I'm going to create him his own profile, mark him in my sold folder. He's in the background. I don't have to see him when I'm working with my animals because I'm usually on the active setting. All of my active animals are the only things that I see. But if I need information on dad, or if a breeder reaches out to me, for example, Bret over at Bayside Geckos, I wanted to give you a quick shout out and say thank you. He just reached out to me to tell me that an animal that I got from him, the dad just threw a het. I believe it was Het Tremper. I can't really remember off the top of my head right now, but I bought an animal from that guy, and it's been months. He doesn't owe me anything. I've paid for the animal. He gave me the animal. We are square. And he still took it upon himself when he hatched out an animal to give me a call and say, hey, bud, just so you know, dad threw a het. You want to update your animal. I would come in here into the profile, even if I didn't have the animal anymore, under the sold section. I would then update it, and I would probably make that exact same phone call. If not, I'm going to change the percentage within my baby, and I'm going to then apply it towards what I use that animal in my breeding section. I like to keep notes like this. I often will see a het thrown and then or a visual thrown and know that I have a head animal or that I've sold a head animal or that I've purchased a head animal that somebody didn't disclose, and I will let them know. It's not a hateful thing like, hey man, just so you know, this wasn't in the notes that you gave me, and we threw this animal here. We got a visual eclipse, visual tremper. You probably want to mark the parents as heads. So that's all I got for you today. A little trick on how to, store profiles for the parents and not pay for them. Um, Husbandry is probably one of my favorite apps that I use for everything I do. I love storing notes. I store way too many, and hopefully nobody has a problem with that because I don't care. I prefer to have more than I need. So if I ever want to reminisce on something, or if I think I knew something, I go into my notes section, and it's very helpful. Um, when you talk to specific breeders, this is why notes are so helpful. No one mind is the same. And I buy animals from breeders whose minds are all over the place. And when they are describing things to me, I'm writing it down. Sometimes I don't quite understand it. So I may write it down, call them a little bit later and say, hey, can you go over this with me? You know, I didn't understand what this meant. And they'll say, oh, yeah, sorry, I was just talking fast or whatever it was. Um, the really neat thing about having a profile is that I don't have to be in a hurry. I can adjust anytime I want, and I can update anytime I want. If I've bred the animal out for 3 years, there's nothing I can't fix here because it's all listed. And anytime I do make changes, I have areas that I make those changes. But I really wanted to share my little trick with you guys. I encourage you to create profiles for the parents, mark them as sold, get them out of your active folder. You can have up to 500 animals for the 149 a year. Um, 149 a year isn't too much to ask. I don't work for Husbandry. I'm telling you, for what I do and for how much I can keep on here, it's really pennies. It's if you were to mark it down, it would be less than a cup of coffee a day to track all your animals all day long. And the best thing about the whole thing is that when I'm out and about, if you give me a call, I can place you on hold or speaker and pull my phone out, which I don't believe you can see. Here we go. I'll put it in front of me. The app is on my phone. I can grab you the notes real quick, text them over to you, send you the photo, whatever it is. That's it. I'm just going to talk about that today. You guys have a good time out there. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is the same, joe@wildcardgeckos.com. And I typically will respond. You guys have a good day.